Welcome to another edition of Spits and Suds. Thank you so much for joining us today. Gavin Spittle here from 105.3 The Fan. We have a great show for you today. Of course we do, because our stars and NHL Insider, he is the greatness of Sean Shapiro. You can catch him out at EP Rinkside. His Shap Shots is absolutely tremendous. Brings you the latest stars and NHL news. He was the goalie in the Late Game Movie. That's at Late Game Movie. He also co-authored with our other Spits and Suds friend the book We Win Here. A lot to talk about, but most importantly, he is now a two-time Cup winner for the beer league team that he's in. If you go to Sean Shapiro's Twitter, at Sean Shapiro, you will see his team anchors in front of the cup, and right there, flashing the pads, our very own Sean Shapiro.
Yep, it is. Now, we have won 2 in the last year. I don't actually... we, as a team, we've won... I want to be humble, but brag at the same time. We've got the... we've won... I feel we've won like 4 or 5, and I've been playing with this group of guys. It's been it's one of the things that makes like beer league hockey great. It's probably the team name is the Anchorman, and it started as I've been playing with this group now for we've been playing together for about 4 or 5 years, and the team started with a couple media folks on the team. That's where kind of the team name came from, and there's been obviously some changes in and out, but it's been about 5 or 6 of the guys who have all been on the same team for the entire time. And we had our first game of summer season last night. We won the spring championship. We had our first game of summer season last night, and it's kind of one of the things that makes to me just makes kind of like beer league hockey great. Is yes, the winning is fun, but it's the same group you get together with every Wednesday night. You play some hockey afterwards. You have a cup, have a beer in the locker room afterwards. Catch up on life. It's one of the things that I look for. I build a lot of my week around it on Wednesday nights. It's a good thing.
That's really, really cool. So, like, what's the competition like in this league? Like, are you guys like the Man City of beer league?
No, I wouldn't say that. We are we opened our summer season last night, and we played the team that's probably the favorite for summer. But we're always playing in the top division for Wednesdays. It's funny because they technically list it as it's a funny thing, Gavin, how they make Michigan, and I don't know who technically runs it, who's in charge of doing this, but like, so the rink that we play at, and most of the rinks up here in Michigan, what they do is there's very rarely A or B leagues at any rinks. And the reason is, apparently, and I had a guy from a rink explain it to me once, apparently up in Michigan, if you're going to have a quote-unquote A or B league, you have to pay your referees more. So, so like, because it's so, for example, so we play on Wednesday nights at the rink, and there are 4 divisions on Wednesday nights, but it goes D1, D2, D3, D4. And so it's kind of one of those funny things. Like, I actually had a friend who moved up from the Dallas area up to Ann Arbor and was asking me about it, because he's like, hey, I was playing B League down in Dallas area. I'm like, I can't find a B League. And I had to kind of explain it to him, where it's like, well, most places basically make C or D1 their highest league, because it's a way to make it, so it's kind of a funny way it looks. So technically we play whatever. Depends on what the rink decides to label the top league as on Wednesday nights, whether it's D1 or C. I think it's been D1. It was D1 last season. It was C the season before. And we're always right in the mix there. We're usually top 2, 3 in our league on Wednesday nights. and we're never the most talented team. We'll all say that, but we tend to be one of the better structured teams. We tend to do a good job of we win when a lot of beer league games are 8-6. I'm proud to say we win a lot of games 4-2. So
Is there a beer league cup in Michigan where like a tournament for the whole state? And is there one nationally? If not, there should be.
I don't know if there's one for Michigan for the whole state. They do have they do have like USA Hockey does like a national championships type thing.
Yeah.
I actually don't know how they build and qualify that out. That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to. I don't know if it's just a like pay to play type national championships thing where it's like anyone who they call it national champion. I don't know. It's a good question because I don't know exactly how those shake out and how they organize it because it's there's different it would be a hard thing to police too, right? Because like you play in there's different leagues with different rules and different places. It's so
Yeah.
it's kind of the Wild West in the best way possible, I guess.
No, you're absolutely correct. All right. So lots of podcasts this week on Jason Robertson, and talked to Robert Tiffin earlier in the week about Jason Robertson. Then I did my own podcast. Lots of feedback coming back to me, both positive and negative. What I try to do, Sean, is kind of explain the reasoning that Robertson's name's out there, and then was listening to Jeff Merrick and throw out some trade possibilities and met with you're not getting enough. And I feel as though some fans want a Mikko Rantanen-like return. I wanted to get your overall thoughts on where we are right now. Is it justified that it's back in the news? And various trade scenarios, because I think, am I right? Teams know that the likelihood is that Robertson's going to be out there because of the Harley contract.
Yeah, and the reality with the Jason Robertson thing is, and I don't want to like. There's a lot of chatter about it, but all of that chatter is not coming from within Dallas. And I think that's an important thing on this, right? Like, I talked to lots of people within the organization, and I talked to lots of, and I have, I'm I kind of I have a good pulse of how things go. And within the organization, um, there's not a pressing want nor need to trade Jason Robertson. Now, a lot of the commentary and things that are getting out about the Stars are going to try to move him, and Jim has his price and everything like that. It's coming from people on the outside, and so it's it's kind of getting out there secondhand through secondhand, right? Because Jim is Jim is if you want to say Jim's shopping Jason Robertson, it's the same way that he was seeking out Mikko Rantanen, where if the right deal is there, I wouldn't be stunned if the right deal presents itself. Jim will make that for Jim, but it's not like there's this imperative, this built-in organizational mandate that Jason Robertson must be traded. Um, there's also, and I know it's not apples to apples, but it's the whole, and because John Klingberg was a UFA and everything like that. People remember the time where Jim Nill let John Klingberg walk and
Yep.
everything like that. Like, there's also the belief within the organization too of, you know what, you can use if it's are you going to worry too much about July of 20, like, do you turn July of 2026 problems? Because the last time I checked, we're in July of 2025, right?
Correct.
Like, do you worry too much about July 2026 problems that it hurts this team right now? And that's not something Jim is willing to do, right? So if Jim is going to make a trade or make a move, it's going to be something that he thinks improves the Stars' chances of winning a Stanley Cup in next June, as opposed to just selling. Like, and that's the thing that always comes up to me, where people, like, I see, and I get it, it's fun for media members and fans to be like, oh man, look at this guy, we can get this guy, we can go and send X amount of picks for this and everything like that. those aren't the players that the Stars are looking for. The Stars will be looking for something where whether it's in a um, whether it's like a combined value return of a combined value return where it's like, oh, hey, two, three players make up for what Jason Robertson is, or a player of equal value. Because here's the thing that I want to go back to, Gavin. If you look at the Dallas Stars depth chart right now, right?
Yep.
And I trade Jason Robertson for picks and a prospect, right? Who's your top line left wing?
Ooh, that's a good
No, no,
question.
seriously. Like,
Yeah.
who is your top line left wing? If I trade Jason Robertson away,
Jamie Benn?
yes, we're at a spot where if you like that, that's the thing everyone is missing right now. You can't like, and Jamie Benn, we've talked all about, hey, Jamie Benn having his role de-escalated and everything like that. Like, you're at a spot. If you trade away Jason Robertson, Jamie Benn is your top line left wing. That is the thing that I think everyone is missing on all of this. Like, so unless you're bringing in another winger, unless you're bringing in another winger that can, like, on this team, you have some of the guys who could play left wing. You could have, I guess, you could have Rope Hintz play left wing, but I like Rope down the middle. So, but then all of a sudden that makes it give you a center problem. I mean, like, so if you are the Dallas Stars, you have to look at that reality of I already have a weakness at left wing. Why am I going to hurt it even more unless I'm going to get the right return? And that's where I go through from all of this Jason Robertson trade talk of yes, it's easy to get caught up. Oh my God, he could hold out next summer. He could do this. He could do that. If Jamie Benn's your top line left wing to start in October, you might not be a playoff team.
Yeah.
I,
It's a great point, and one that we have not hit on, and that's why we're so glad that you come on this podcast. My only thinking then is if a Robertson trade should have occurred probably then prior to the trade deadline, so therefore you could address the wing, but also potentially in that trade scenario attack the second defense position.
or you wouldn't have let go of Mason Marchment, right? Like, I mean, the whole thing, like, you don't trade Mason Marchment away for, like, obviously you traded Mason Marchment to get Duchesne signed and everything like that. But if you don't think Jim is thinking ahead, you're fooling yourself. Like, if there was a chance he was going to go into this season without Jason Robertson and without a similar level return for that spot, you don't trade Mason Marchment. You just you make your other moves and then you figure it out later, right? So that's the other part too of all this. Like, the whole, to me, if I had to guess, I would think I would think it's more likely Jason Robertson. This is my gut feeling. I would think it's more likely Jason Robertson signs an extension this summer than he gets traded. That's what I would say. That's my gut feeling on this. And I would bet that there's more like, and if anything, he's going to be an RFA. If there's a Jason Robertson trade, I would think the earliest would be the draft in 2026.
Okay.
That's what I would think about all of that. Like, that's just, I'm looking at the reality here, and I feel like it's exciting. It's a big name, and we want more and I get it. Like, it's part of it. Like, having more player movement in the league is fun, right? Like, it's more fun to talk about a season this year where Mikko Rantanen is a Dallas Star and everything like that. But this kind of, like, and man, if they can't get the extension done by now, like, I think it's missing the biggest thing where it's a Stars team that has already taken a step back on paper. That's just the reality of having the Mikko Rantanen deal. They can't take another big step back. It's not like it's that. I think that's getting missed by a lot of people when you need to apply some of the common sense meter to some people, like, and that comes to the, like, this isn't just to Stars fans, but this is also to, like, I'll see so many other fan bases or media members throw out, like, oh, our team could trade this guy, this guy, this guy, and I'm like, how does that help Jim keep his job right now? because Jim is not a legacy person. He's already won three. He's got his name on the cup three times, but Jim also has to know that if this team misses the playoffs, and even though he's won the GM of the year three times in a row, if this team misses the playoffs with a coach that he took a gamble on, his butt's on the line.
Yeah.
So show me how trading Jason Robertson helps Jim Nill. And I struggle to see it with every single thing that comes up.
Do you think then they wait until the trade deadline to address the defense? And
well, I know Jim is a big believer in Nils Lundqvist. So I think that's one of the things we have to establish, right?
yeah,
Jim is a big believer in Nils Lundqvist. Him and Pete DeBoer, one of the things that him and Pete DeBoer did not agree on was what Nils Lundqvist is and what he's capable of. Jim is also a big believer in his coach has autonomy. So I think Jim believes Nils Lundqvist is going to take another step with coming off the injury. He was doing much better last year. I think Jim is willing to do that. Jim is also, I think, willing to see a little bit of what this defense looks like under Elaine Nasreddine with a different head coach. One of the biggest changes about the Stars this season will be assistant coaches have some more autonomy. Pete DeBoer had his fingers on everything, for better or worse. Pete was Elaine Nasreddine under Pete DeBoer was told, run this defense, run it this way. Under Glenn Gulletson, the directive to Nasreddine will be run the defense, which gives Elaine a little bit more bandwidth to run it the way he wants. So I think Jim is willing to, and the Stars are willing to see what this actually looks like. And so I think there's that. I like Matt Dumba's still there. He's still floating around. It's one where the fact he's still on the Stars roster at this point makes me my gut says he gets moved still. But the return is not going to be super intriguing, obviously.
yep.
So, but if you go into the season with a defensive unit of Lindell and Heiskanen, Harley, Labushkin, Bichel, and Lundqvist, and you've got some of those players, if Bichel and Lundqvist take a step, all of a sudden your weak link on there is Labushkin, who you probably need to protect a little bit against some of the speedsters in the NHL. But if you stay healthy, you're like, okay, that's not terrible. And you still can upgrade at the deadline and you still look for it. But it's not as, it's one of those kind of like mirror moments, Gavin, where because of where the Stars have been and the expectation, this defense looks horrible for some Stars fans, right? Because you're like, oh my God, they couldn't get past the Oilers. I would ask you to go like, I'll do the exercise right now. Closing my eyes, scrolling real quick. Let's go to, I just clicked on a random team on Puckpedia, right? Clicked on a random team on Puckpedia, and it is the one I randomly clicked on was the New York Islanders. The New York Islanders depth chart on defense, right, is one where let's do this right now. It's you go and your defense is Pelech, Polak. That's your top pair of 30-year-olds that I don't really trust that much.
Yeah.
Romanov signed to an 8-year deal at $625. I don't mind the player. Tony DeAngelo. They don't have Matthew Schaefer on here yet because he's not signed yet, but I'm assuming Matthew Schaefer will play. But like, okay, I'd take the Stars defense over that. Now I'm not to be clear to someone, I'm not saying that I wouldn't take Matthew Schaefer on the Stars. I'm just saying that defense as constructed. Like if I go to the Western Conference and I pick out let's just go to the St. Louis Blues, right? Like the Blues defense right now is the depth chart, and I'm just pulling this up as we look for people know exactly how this exercise is working. Like Fowler, Parayko, okay, not a bad start. Broberg and Falk, that's a good top four, but you're looking at a bottom pair of Tucker and Logan Mailloux, and I think Mailloux, there might be something there in the future with Logan Mailloux and everything like that, but that's another playoff team in the Central where you're like, they would love to have a Liam Bichel and Nils Lundqvist on their third pair. I think it's this line of the Stars defense is horrible is the Stars defense needs to be improved, but it's not nearly as bad as in the NHL landscape as some Stars fans think it is. And I think that's important to remember. And there's some room for growth internally. And if you're not getting that growth, you take a look at your you take a look at your options at the deadline, but you also don't have the big army of assets. I mean,
Right.
if for Dallas, if we want to connect all of this, Gavin, the big thought process is the whole like, okay, if you're gonna trade Jason Robertson, show me the trades, and this is an open-ended conversation to you and anyone listening. If you're gonna trade Jason Robertson because you're worried about, hey, I can't pay him 12 million, go trade him for the $9 million defenseman to go trade him for a $9 million defenseman and just be like, okay, we're just going to be a team that tanks up on the back end and see where it goes. Right? Go
Yeah.
show me those trades and then figure that out for me.
I threw in draft picks and Jackson Lacombe.
For Robertson?
Yeah. I probably should ask for more, but I don't think Anaheim's going to give me Jackson Lacombe and Mason McTavish.
Yeah, and I like Jackson Lacombe's game a good bit. I mean, he had something like 45 points.
Yeah, 45. I like his time on ice.
Yeah,
like that he's he plays in the second power play unit. So, I mean, if Harley and Heiskanen went down, you do have a guy that can play power play. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you're the Stars though, why don't I ask for McComb and McTavish? Right?
If I'm the Stars, yes, you're right.
You're right. Like that's the spot of, if I'm the Stars, if I'm gonna go and that's where my conversations start, right? Like I don't care about the picks, and I understand if you're Anaheim, if you want to make a big like teams always want to throw picks in because picks are like, oh, look at the shiny boxes. The Stars don't need picks. The Stars need solutions that help this team, and so right now, Jason Robertson is a solution that helps this team, and it's going to cause probably a bit of a headache next year. If they don't get him signed this summer, it'll cause a bit of a headache next year when he's an RFA, but it's the headache you work your way through, and it's like just so many teams, so many people, and I said this on Twitter like a month back, like Jason Robertson is not getting moved for your team's second best prospect in a couple picks.
Yeah.
Right? Like let's stop with all of that. These are RFA is different than UFA, but what did it take to get Matthew Tkachuk?
It took Mackenzie Weegar, Jonathan Huberdeau, and a top pick.
Jonathan Huberdeau was a league MVP type candidate.
Absolutely.
And to be clear to anyone out there listening, I'm not saying Jason Robertson is Matthew Tkachuk. That is not what I am saying. Please be clear on that. But when you're talking about wingers that can impact a game and be 100-point scorers in the league, like Jason Robertson is, and Matthew Tkachuk was not a winner, quote unquote, when that trade was made. Let's be clear on this. Matthew Tkachuk has since, it would now cost even more for someone to trade for Matthew Tkachuk, but the value at the time, that was the type of value Matthew Tkachuk required at the time. So if I'm the Stars and I have something under team control for RFA status for the next year, I need to be blown away, and I need you to show me the way that shipping Jason Robertson out of town makes me more of a Stanley Cup contender.
Yeah.
And I just I keep going back to the alternative, Gavin, of what if I have to go to October and I look down the left side. If I'm a Stars fan and I'm the person who is who being like, oh, we got to move Jason Robertson before it hurts us in the future. If that's your line of thinking, let me just come to you and say, are you willing to still follow that line of thinking if I tell you on October 10th, your left wings for opening night would be Jamie Benn, Oscar Beck, Stam Steele, and Justin Ritzkovian?
It's a really healthy conversation, and I'm glad I'm having it with you. One of the things that comes up when trades are mentioned is and I talked to Craig Ludwig about this,
Yeah.
left-right defenseman, and it's a luxury to have a right shot. But at the same time, when I asked Craig about it, he goes, yeah, it's nice. He goes, but it's not the end all. It's like players can adjust. I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I'm trying to help the people that, send to me messages. And when I throw out or talk about a top tier defenseman, they're like, yeah, but he's not a right shot. And I'm like, wow, we're putting a lot of stock on this right shot.
Yeah. Well, I think there's the right shot defenseman part becomes is there's less right shot defensemen in the NHL, and so for the quick 45-second Spark Notes refresher, if you're a new hockey fan or anything like that, most Canadians, there's more Canadians than any other nationality in the NHL, and more Canadians are left shots than right shots because typically in Canada, when you teach a kid to grab a stick, historically speaking, you teach them to hold it left-handed. You teach them to hold it quote unquote left-handed because your dominant hand's on the top, right? In the United States, we're a little bit more, we flip it around, and it's more Americans there tends to be more right shot Americans because, well, hey, this is how they, it's like you swing a baseball bat right-handed, so you shoot a hockey puck right-handed. So that's the quick Spark Notes there of why there's more,
So
why
good notes.
right-handed. Yeah, that's why right-handed shot is a premium, is because Canadian culture was built on left-handed shots. That's just the reality. So there's pros and cons of both, right? Like, here's the thing, like you like lefty righty because the reason you really like lefty righty is, just think about it like ping pong, not ping pong. Like think of it sort of like a pinball paddles, right? Like where if lefty righty, and I guess inverted pinball paddles, where it's much easier for if you're a left-handed shot, Gavin, and you're on the left, and I'm a right-handed shot, and I'm on the right. Or I guess we should flip it around because I'm technically a left-handed shot. So if I'm a left-handed shot, you're a right-handed shot. I
I
have the
am a
puck on my
right-handed shot, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So we should do that. So I'm the left-handed shot. I'm on the left side. I want people to visualize this. I've got the puck along the left side of the ice, and you're on the right side. I have I have the left side boards. I can look down the left side boards how I want. I can then swing it across to you. I can swing it across to you if I want, and you're catching it on your forehand. And that is the benefit of lefty righty right there. It is the both play. If we're going D to D, we are catching the puck. We are both catching the pucks on our forehand, and we are both getting that split second to go to make a quicker next decision. That is the true benefit of lefty righty. As opposed to lefty lefty, for example, if all of a sudden you hop off the ice, Gavin, and Miro Heiskanen jumps on because we're both playing for the Stars now, apparently.
Yep. Yep.
And I throw a pass over to Miro. Miro is catching that puck on his backhand, and there's a quick. He's catching this puck. He's catching that puck on his backhand, or he is having to shift his body, and he has to take an extra second. Well, probably an extra 5 seconds because the pass is coming from me as opposed to an NHL player. So that is the lefty righty part there happens. That's one of the parts. The other part of the lefty righty thing is just when it comes to the defending element, you think how often if you're a lefty and players are attacking you coming down the wing, you have a little bit more of that. You have more control of the play on the rush, depending on which hand. If you're a left-handed shot and you're a lefty and the player's coming in and they try to charge wide around you, you have the reach to the left to take up more space. Now, if you're a right-handed shot, if you're a right-handed shot playing on the left side, you have the reach to the middle a little bit more. So the cons are, like, there's cons, but I also find the pros to things, right? Like, if lefty righty was the biggest deal of where you are on the ice, think about Alex Ovechkin. what shot does he have? Is he a right or left-handed shot?
I have him as a right-handed shot.
He is. He's
Okay,
also a
yeah.
left winger.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
greatest goal scorer of all. Now it's not the same thing with now. There's different positions to it, but the greatest goal scorer in the history of the game is on the wrong side. If we go by that logic, right? If we go on the logic of, oh my God, we have to have lefties on the left, righties on the right.
Wow. He doesn't look like he's on the wrong side.
Correct. Because and I think and it's a very and like I actually love quote unquote inverted wingers. Like I think it's like Patrick Kane is also is an inverted winger. Vlad Tarasenko was now Vlad Tarasenko's not a great example, but he was an inverted winger at times. Like when you are in the offensive zone, and it's actually something I actually like Miro on the right. And people and I get like one of the things I think Miro is a better offensive player when he's on his right side because it allows him to cut to the middle easier. It allows him to be more aggressive and cut to the middle and do that. Now I think part of it is Miro needs to be more aggressive in general, but I think he has more of the toolbox to cut to the middle and take center line and everything like that offensively if he is a left-handed shot on the right side. I just that's
Hmm.
my own view of it. So like I get so there are coaches like lefty righty because they like looking at things and everything like that. But you go and give me it's kind of the whole like it feels to me sometimes it's not the same as baseball. I think too often like our sports brain applies it to like, hey, if I'm building a batting order, I can't have no I need at
Right.
least what I need at least a couple lefties in the lineup to open things up. It's not like having it's not like all of a sudden putting it's not like all of a sudden having a right-handed having a like I think Miro Hishkin's going to be a Norris Trophy candidate where he's on the left or the right. And I think there's plays where being a it's and I don't think there's a comfort level issue with him. I mean, I think really what it comes down to is there are just some players that are so uncomfortable on their offhand that like Ryan Suter famously would not play on his offside. If you have players like that aren't willing to play on their offside, then it becomes a problem. But if players are comfortable playing on it, I think it can work either way, and there'll be that moment, right? If you have a lefty on the right side, there'll be that moment where you're like, oh man, if he was right, if only he was a righty there, we would have had the right play.
Yeah.
But then he'll make a different play going the other way. He'll make the stick check on a guy going across the middle. He'll cut to the middle with the puck, or he'll like just like it's the. I always laugh. Like somebody asked me about one of the very old school ridiculous thinking things was so the second goalie taken in the draft this year was a goalie by the name of Joshua Ravensbergen, right? I think he went to the Seattle, I think it was for Ravensbergen. Either way, Joshua Ravensbergen though catches with his right hand, right? He's a right catch goalie. And somebody once asked me, he's like, "Oh, what about a right catch goalie? Isn't there an issue with that?" I'm like, "No, because if all of a sudden a right catch goalie gets beaten on his left side, you'd be like, "Oh my God, if you caught left-handed, you got that." But then you got to go and then you got to go and then if you're gonna be that person, you got to go every single save he makes with his right hand on the other side. You're gonna be like, oh my god, well, are you gonna go praise the fact that he's catching
Yeah.
right-handed?
Yeah.
Like, like it's this whole like I just get I think it's and I want to be kind about how I say this, Gavin, but I think a lot of the times we get all caught up in the lefty righty conversation
I agree.
because and I think part of it is because it's a quantifiable hockey thing. Like it's a
Sure.
quantifiable thing where we can look at and we can say this works or this doesn't or this is different than this. In a sport that and I love this sport, but I still learn things about this sport all the time. And I think it's part of I think it's kind of one of the I think the lefty righty thing honestly is a reflection of we don't have the common understanding of what they're trying to do the way we do with baseball and football and even basketball,
Hmm.
right? Like I think there's such a high level of if I watch an NFL, like I've never played football in my life, Gavin, but I can recognize zone and man coverage in football simply because I watch NFL broadcasts,
Yep.
right? But because they break down what happens in the game so much. And so it's never well, oh my God, the quarterback's right or left-handed, because all that ever changes is like, well, you just need to hit it. All that we do is we flip. Okay, well, you just get a stronger right tackle if he's left-handed. I know that stuff because it's part of the football conscious, and I think part of the hockey conscious and how the game is played. There's a lot of people who don't. There's a lot of just conversation where people don't actually break the game down and break why things work and don't work at a base level, right? And I think we do a pretty good job of like trying to introduce it at this show, Gavin. Like I'm not including it, like but like this is more of a broadcast thing. The sport is so quick that
Yeah.
the analyst, and I think Ray Ferraro does a really good job, but Ray Ferraro doesn't have the, and I've spoken to Ray quite a bit, and Ray Ferraro gets the 30 seconds to break something down. And so it's the most base level. And
Right.
that's how, and so we learn the game at the base level, and lefty righty is base level. I don't hear in the broadcast, I don't hear on the other podcast of, hey, what's the pros of Miro playing on his offhand?
Yeah.
And I think I'm not trying to get on a high horse here. You just kind of got me rolling here with it. Like, this is just something where, like, the same thing goes to, like, we go back to the Jason Robertson thing where someone says, like, oh, well, you got to trade Jason Robertson. You got to do this. He's not a playoff player. Why is he not a playoff player? And I have my answer for why he's not a playoff player, but I throw that out to so many other people, and people just say, oh, the game gets tougher then. No, it's not that the game gets tougher then. That's not what it is. It's that all of a sudden you're pre-scouted a ton, and I'm giving my example to kind of back my evidence here. The reason Jason Robertson isn't as a playoff player is he's a more one-dimensional player that is in the regular season you don't overly prep for the other team. So Jason Robertson's shoot pass option is very simple, even though I have the word option in there. Like, it's a very simple thing, but it's not something other teams prep for. You worry about yourself. So Jason Robertson looks more effective. Jason Robertson's is adding more variety to his game. His job is to be more like Mikko Rantanen and to add a ton of variety. And that's my answer of why Jason Robertson is not a playoff player right now. But so many people will say, oh, Jason Robertson is not a playoff player. If I ask them why, I don't think they can give me an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think so often this left shot, right shot thing comes down to like, well, like you're telling me that, like, like a good example is like Miro Heiskanen is not in, like, Matt Dumba's a right shot D. If it was just right shot D made everything better.
Yeah. He'd be
like,
in there. Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. Okay. We're over on time, but I do have two quickies for you because you have great knowledge of this. Antonio Strangis, 1 year, two-way contract, only 23 years old. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping that he's a late bloomer, similar to Matej Blumel, who's now with Boston, but a kind of a prospect that a lot of people talked about at one time, but just hasn't necessarily blossomed in Texas. Second part of that, new AHL Texas Stars head coach, Toby Petersen. You knew Toby, know Toby, skills coach with Colorado, good experience as an assistant coach in several stops in the AHL. I really like this hire, Sean. I think it's a great follow-up to Neil Graham.
Yeah. You want to do Strangis first? Or
Yeah,
Toby first?
yeah. Let's whatever you want, bud.
Let's do first. We'll do Strangis. For Antonio Strangis, there's a thing, and Steven, my pal Steven Meserve and I were texting back and forth about it the other day. But it's just, if you want a hint of when a player is signed, if you want a hint of where they are slotted on the depth chart for training camp, search the press release and look to see if if there was a quote from Jim Nill in the press release. And I've said this before, so this isn't new knowledge, but I've said this before, but there is no quote from Jim Nill in the Antonio Strangis press release, which is the line, which the lack of a Jim Nill quote in that press release tells me everything I need to know, where Antonio Strangis is an AHL signing for this year. It's just the reality. Go through, if anyone wants to go through and do this, you can reverse and look. You go through and look through signings and everything like that. There's a quote from Jim Nill about Mikko Rantanen. There's a quote from Jim Nill when he signed Sam Steele. There's quotes from if Jim Nill, if a player is a quote unquote, if a player is on the NHL depth chart to play in the NHL this year, Jim Nill will issue a quote in the press release. If Jim does not issue a quote, he views them as an AHL player.
Great tip.
Antonio Stranges is an AHL player. He took a nice Stranges had 40 something points in 60 games, I think, for Texas this year, something along those lines. He had his skating style. He's got that Mohawk skating style that is fascinating to watch, but some coaches don't like it. It also, I don't know if the straight lineness of it. There's still some work to be done with all of that. So, he's a guy who honestly I think he feels highly capped off to me as a 4A player. He is he could have a Travis Morin type career, and there's and that's if you can have a Travis Morin type career, that's a good career. But I don't know about NHL, and I don't know if I see an NHL player.
Okay,
that's the reality with him.
And Toby Petersen.
I love the hire. I ran into Toby a couple times this season. He was working as a skills coach with the Avalanche. He had a great line to me about 6-7 months ago about how Cale Makar makes him look a lot better because as a skills coach he can just put Cale Makar clips and so he'll have a great chemistry instantly with that Texas team. Obviously, he played with Travis Moore. He played with Max Fortunas, his now assistants. He played with his now captain there, Curtis McKenzie. For me, one of the big things about Toby Petersen is how much he understands what the AHL is about. And I think that's one of the things where it's important to have a coach who understands that your job is to win games, but your job is to also make sacrifices that help other players take the next step. And that's something that Toby did a bit late in his career with the Texas Stars. And I think he's a great individual one-on-one coach. He's great at explaining why and how we're going to do this. He's great at doing that. I think it's a tremendous hire for Texas. And it's the Texas Stars, it's a really good move for Texas.
The greatness of Sean Shapiro. Boy, what a great deep dive we had on Robertson, left to right shot. I mean, great learning tools for people listening. I learned from Sean today. Hopefully you have as well. Please subscribe to his Shap Shots channel. It's a Substack. It's worth every penny. Great article up about Gavin McKenna. Love the first name. Anytime someone's good and their name Gavin, we promote it here on Spits and Suds. We need all the help we can get. Not many Gavins in this world. More than when I was a kid. All right. Sean, did I ever tell you quickly, you remember Gavin McLeod, the captain of the Love Boat?
I never not watched much of the Love Boat, but yes, I know the name.
All right. I'm older than you. So there was only one Gavin when I was growing up, and that was the captain of the Love Boat. That's a big deal. Love Boat was a big series, and I'm like, look, there's a Gavin I can relate to. Fast forward 25, 30 years, Gavin Spittle arming over Gavin McLeod for the picture of a lifetime, and I said, you inspired me as a kid because your name's Gavin as well. Picture's about to be taken. He leans in and says, I got to be honest, my first name's really not Gavin.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I don't know if I can't remember if I still smiled in the picture or not, but it was for some reason that 6 to 8 year old Gavin Spittle just, had a frown on his face. All right, man, you're a beast. Shap Shots, D Magazine, EP Ringside. Congratulations on all the NHL draft work that EP Ringside did. Until next time, my friend. Boy, what an off season this has been. Thank you so much for your time and all your education on today's show.
Always fun, Gavin. I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Absolutely, and we'll have another episode of Spits and Suds soon. Until our next episode, thank you so much for supporting Spits and Suds. Have a great day, everyone.